Hey, happy Sunday, everybody. Hi, it's me, Charlie. This is Morris in the Pup. Welcome to our live. Yeah, for all of you that are new, we have so many new people. It's ridiculous. I just want to thank you all first off. This is our biggest week of growth, I think, since like the first month of the channel, which I was just informed my Facebook was 11 months ago. Which really brought me around to the theme of this week's thing. But we had over 200 new members this week, which is insane. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And I see it because I'm the only one in this channel. There are no moderator people doing stuff. There's nobody letting things in. Everything that gets posted to this channel, every person in this channel is personally approved and responded to by me. I handle all of it. So I see that you all are inviting friends. I see that you all are asking questions. I know that I'm a little behind on actually asking all of your questions and getting all of your posts approved. With the massive growth, we also have a ton of people that like post pictures of like chicks and then ask for traffic or trying to sell courses. So all those people banned for life, no questions asked. We're not here for that shit. They can go somewhere else and waste their time. But I just want to thank everybody for that. And if you're new, every week, every weekend, we do a live here in this group. The lives, sorry, my hair's all being weird today. The lives, what is wrong with me? Oh, well, whatever. The lives are mainly centered around, we do homework, so you can get half off the Patreon, the Slack, one-on-one calls, or you can get any ebook that we have for free or any ebook for free. Hi, Larissa and Alex and Leigh. Nice to see you guys. We try to cover centralized themes so that we can maximize deep dives into really important topics of conversation. During the week, I'll ask everybody, what do you want to cover during that week? And a lot of the times they last about an hour to 2 hours. And you know, the more and more I've been thinking about it, the more and more I'm trying to go back to something that we used to do. And so starting with this one, I'm really going to try to have like a zine that comes out afterwards that kind of summarizes a lot of the things that we talk about. We'll answer any of the questions from anybody that asks during the live. And at any point in time from now until the end of Facebook, if you watch the live and you have questions, you can just ask them, tag me in them, and I'll answer anything you have from any of our lives from the beginning of this till the end of it. If you do your homework from any of the weeks, you get the rewards. It doesn't have to be just this week for this week. It could be something from 6 months ago. And the way to find all of the lives is to go to the announcements section inside of the group, and you can see everything that's happened. Also, you can search inside the group for specific topics, and you'll be able to see people's questions and answers and my opinions on basically everything that you can think of. And if there isn't one, then just ask. And remember, because I'm approving everything, every question that gets asked gets answered by me personally. And if the question hasn't been asked yet, please ask it. And if it has been asked but not good enough to help you, ask it again. There's no dumb questions. One of the things that I hear very often in one-on-one calls and Slacks and in the Slack channel is, great, Jackie, is that, you know, I didn't want to ask this question. I didn't want to appear dumb. This group is specifically for, you know, there's a lot of different level marketers in here, right? There are entry-level folks that are just trying to get into something that know that they want to be in this space, but they have no idea how to do it. And then there are people like me that spend over $1 million a month. You know, there are folks inside of this group that I see at Facebook or, you know, that are part of my Disruptor Pod. And there are people in here that you know, are overseas that I've never met before. We've got success stories galore. Tony shared an amazing thing earlier this week. Thank you so much, Tony. Of some of the stuff we've had, and we've had some hard times, but that's okay, right? Because we're all here to help out, and if people don't ask the questions, then we're not going to get to the answers for everybody. Also, I'm not selling anything. There's no like coursework or anything else. this group started, which is the theme, which is going to be the theme around the piece. This group started because I wanted to start talking to other advertisers last year. And I got into I went to like a couple conferences. I think I went to Trafficking Conversions in San Diego, and I realized just how much bullshit was being sold. It was an expensive conference that was teaching stuff that was a year or two old, and I got one or two nuggets out of it, but I could have saved $1,000. And it was a huge waste of time. And I realized how helpful me asking questions was to other people, because a lot of the questions that I was asking were stuff that people wanted to know. And I found myself asking questions to people and then a dozen folks coming and asking me questions afterwards. So I got into Facebook groups to try to answer the questions. And I got into the groups of like, Tim Bird and Cat Howell, all these fucking, world traveling guru types. And eventually I got kicked out of every one of their groups because I was undermining all of their bullshit advice. And when they would charge like hundreds or thousands of dollars for a mastermind or something, I get it, that's their business model. But I was starting to, hi John, I was starting to go in and basically I was getting kicked out of every group. And it was funny, this group of people kept following me, like they were finding me and friending me, and it became dozens and then hundreds of people that would go from group to group to group to follow me, from agency scaling secrets to a million different groups. And so this group was founded just a little under a year ago because I got kicked out of every other group because everybody kept asking me for help. And I was like, fine, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to do a group. I'm going to make an ebook, hopefully like at least once a month. And I'm going to answer people's questions. I'm going to set up ways to help folks because helping you all helps me. Very specifically, like when I answer your questions, when I see the world through the eyes of the problems that you're having, it makes me a better marketer, right? Like one of the best ways of learning something is to teach it. And there's a lot of things that I've learned from you all, and there's a lot of things that I've hopefully been able to help. And some of the best practices that I have come from, some of the questions that have been asked in this group. I'm 3 weeks into now a study with Facebook at it's a 6-figure budget, and Facebook's flipping half the bill to test our version of CBO versus their version of CBO. Our best practices that we've defined in this group because thousands of people have tried little pieces and asked questions, and we're winning. Like the rules of that test have changed, and we've defined the limitations of Facebook's best practices. And the honest truth is our version isn't necessarily performing better or worse, but their version, the best way that their version works, limits you heavily versus ours. So while we are keeping parity, the only reason that they're doing as good as us is because they're preventing us from doing everything that makes our version better, bucket-based CBO. And we can get into more of that, but we are now defining the best practices that are going to be taught. I'm going to, Facebook in September. There's a conference that they have for disruptor level advertisers. I'm one of the top 130 advertisers on Facebook. It's called the Disruptors, and there's a group. The convention is called Build to Break. And if you go to Build to Break, what they do is they cover all the case studies of all the disruptors, and then they give it to us high level folks. We all try it, and then all the things that we move forward with to become best practice get taught to all the reps, and then all the reps then teach it to all the gurus and all the high level advertiser like agency folks. And then that gets taught to everybody else. So the things that we're covering right now are going to be taught to the rest of the disruptors in September. They're going to be tested through Q4. And the beginning of the year, the things that work are then going to be passed along to everybody that teaches classes and all the ad agencies. And so next spring, next summer, they're going to be taught and sold as things that people are going to pay a shit ton of money for. Which again goes back to the theme of this week. And I want to save you that time and that effort, because the other thing is, by the time they teach it to you, it will probably been out of date. It will have been old. And you're going to be one of 1,000 people trying to swim upstream. Fuck that. We are the stream. We are the thing defining it. And this group helps make that happen. So thank you very much. This week is all about undermining the gurus and going against everything, knowing how your ad agency is lying to you, figuring out like all of the things that people sell shit for that's out of date tactics, that's obsolete shit, that makes them look good because they don't have a better answer, because Facebook hasn't told them, because our case studies aren't being taught yet, and all of that stuff. So I wanted to get to that this week because we're coming up on the end 1 year of this group being founded. And this group is founded because every single one of those people, the Eric Dykes and the Nick Shacklefords and the Tim Birds and the Cat Howells and all the people who love me, that know me, that see me at their conferences, that ask me questions, don't want me in their groups because I undermine the fuck out of what they're doing. Their business model is ripping people off. They are get rich quick gurus. It's multi-level marketing in the digital age is really all it is. They get taught something by Facebook. They test it. They gave extraordinarily out of context and inflated, bullshit metric results, and then teach it 6 months down the line and sell hundreds of dollars a month for access to it. I understand that's their business. I understand that people, they have disciples that have succeeded with them, and it's because they're giving good advice. What we're going to do is try to undermine all of the shit that's out there in the world that might be completely obsolete, that even those people aren't even teaching anymore. And we're going to undermine some of the stuff that they're going to start teaching in 6 to 9 months. So with all that being said, this week, I asked you all to send me things that you hear gurus talking about, or stuff that the best practices, and things that are different from what we're saying, and really giving us talking points for that. And so what I wanted to do is, first off, we have homework. The homework for this week, right along the line of this fucking undermine the gurus, is take any one of our sexy tips, tricks, or tactics, and you can search the group to find it, and post it in one of those gurus pages. That's it. Just post it. You don't even have to tag my page. I don't care. Right? I mean, maybe you do, and so you can help other people get here, but I don't give a shit. Take one of our things, one of the things that we talk about in this group, and post it in their shit, right? Whether it's the Rebuff sells, or our stuff about why seasoning the pixel is bullshit, or the community stuff, or one-day post-click stuff, or retargeting. I mean, and there's dozens and dozens and dozens of pieces. Take any one of them, post it in one of those, in a group where somebody's selling a course, and screenshot it after it gets approved, and you get something from me for free. An ebook for free, or hop off the Slack or the Patreon, or a one-on-one call. All right? So your homework this week is just to help other people. That's it. That's all you have to do. And I'll help you some more. So with that being said, let's get right down to it. Sorry, I don't know what's up with my whatever. Too much rock and roll this week. I tell you, good Lord. Complete side note for you guys who don't know, I'm in a couple bands, and I had like 2 shows last week. I got 2 shows this week, 2 more festivals the week after that, and then I'm organizing in October and November. I'm going to be doing a national tour in the U.S., so it's going to be crazy. But that's one of the beauties of advertising on the internet. I will have my laptop charger. I will have my cell phone that's a hotspot, and I'll be making fucking money. Right? That's what we do. Thanks you. Phone. There we go. Thanks you. That was dumb. Anyway, let's get into it. And one other thing, just real quick, if you find this stuff valuable, if you enjoy this group, if this is something that you look forward to or that you get value from, the number one way of saying thank you to me is just inviting a friend. And if you want access to all the ebooks and everything, there's a Patreon. It's like $20 a month. I really appreciate it. Do the homework, you get it for half off. And I would be stunned if the $20 or the $10 you can do your homework that you spend on that doesn't make you that money back in a week. It's a really low bar. And if you want to cheat the system, just join, steal everything, and then it's cancel your subscription. I don't give a shit. Let's get to it. So we're gonna Jackie in the Slack. She said in the group. She said she had to go out for lunch, want to catch up later. Can you talk about why gurus are always saying watch CPC? She has some other questions, but let's go there. So why are agencies and gurus saying watch the CPC? And so as you don't know, CPC is cost per click. Now, the reason that cost per click is a metric that so many people look at is because before Facebook was Google and programmatic buying, and the metric of success, because you didn't have a conversion objective, you couldn't optimize for conversions at the time, was clicks. And so it was the cost per click and the price per click. And so it is an objective that older advertisers, more old school digital DR folks, DR is direct response. That's you selling a product to ship to somebody, or an app or something. It was the metric that people used was CPCs. And so that's where the terms, garbage traffic and, really those CPCs, all of this strategy, because people have learned how to get the lowest cost per click. Now, why is the lowest cost per click valuable? Because it is still valuable. Lowest cost per click means that you're able to spend money to get the most amount of traffic to your website. Now, that is very valuable because it increases the size of your retargeting pools. If your retargeting pools are larger, especially on Facebook, but for every platform, the larger your retargeting pool, the cheaper in CPM, cost per 1,000 impressions, it is to reach those people. Every platform, you pay a premium for the size of that audience. It's far more expensive to reach every individual person if your audience is 1,000 people than every individual person if your audience is 10,000 people. There is an economy of scale that occurs at size. You get bulk pricing, basically. So CPCs are important because it tells you what's the cheapest way of getting people to your site. CPCs are also used very commonly as a quality score, basically saying, well, this ad is getting people to my site for $3. This ad is getting people to my site for $2. Well, this ad is more efficient. I'm going to run more money here. Now, what we know is because we can now measure out to a conversion objective like a purchase, that it doesn't really fucking matter whether it's a $2 click ad or a $3 click ad. What we're concerned about is actually the conversion rate and the cost per conversion. Maybe that $2 you can get clicks. Shit, if you get clicks for 50 cents and 1 out of 10,000 people buys, that's a far less efficient ad than one where you get a click for $3 and 1 out of 100 buys. So there's a big piece of math, but most gurus, and Gosia and Evan, hi guys. Is it Gosia? Gosia? I don't know, it's a beautiful name. I just don't know how to pronounce it. I'm a ignorant white kid in California. My apologies. So it's an old school metric that many C-level executives, people that have been in business since the 80s and the 90s, look to find quality. The reason that it is something that gurus look to is because it makes them sound smart and because it lets people that are very high level relate to the information. What I can tell you is that for the vast majority of the people in this group, it's not about the volume, especially on Facebook. It's not about the volume of traffic. It's the quality of traffic. I don't care if you have to pay $5 a click. If you're converting 1 out of 10 people, that's way more efficient than $1 clicks where you convert 1 out of 1,000, right? So what you need, when they talk about it, remember that it's a self-serving metric. They know that if they talk about it, that they're going to appeal to people with very deep pockets. And they're going to be planning, they're going to be helping media buyers who have been in the business for 10, 15 years by talking their language. It's out of date. It's more or less a vanity metric. It's slightly obsolete, and it's only really a directional thing at this point in time. For instance, we say go to Tapjoy and get your clicks because Tapjoy's got clicks for like 25, 30 cents. But that's also not the only reason you use Tapjoy. Tapjoy also is a for-profit only, like you can set your bid so you can make profit on it all the time, and using that to drive your volume because the business objective being accomplished is more efficient than you can expect on Facebook. But again, CPCs aren't what we're watching there. CPC is a result. It's a secondary metric of what makes that platform really strong. She also asked, how many ads to start in each ad set? That's a very simple question. I love it. And I've heard so many different things from people. Some folks keep talking about like, oh, get as many as you possibly can. And some folks say they've only got one. Here's what's working for me. Here's what Facebook is defining as best practice. What's going to be taught in September and then taught to you and sold in the spring is your best performing ad sets when you're launching them will have roughly 3 to 5 creative built around a single concept, a sales pitch. And that concept should be represented across multiple media. It's called a mixed media model. I've heard several terminology, but that's what's going with it now. And what that means is that theoretically, if you're pushing, Morrison's dog food, yes, I'm talking about you. Sorry, you're waiting for me now. If you're pitching Morrison's dog food and it's a pitch, and what you could have is one ad that is one ad that's a video of the dog eating the food, one ad that's a picture of that dog at the food bowl, and then one ad that looks more like an organic piece of content in that there's no CTA at the bottom. You've made it as an actual post, and it's just got a long copy with a link buried in it, or somebody can click on that and go to your site. That's 3 pieces of content. It's really easy to kind of chop that up and to make one piece of content 3 or 5 of them. And what that's doing is that's letting that concept appeal to different types of people. Because some folks will see the video and they'll want to click. Some folks will see a video and be like, I don't have time for this shit, and they move on. Some folks will see that ad of the still image and they know exactly what it is. They're waiting on seeing it. They like, that's what I wanted. I wanted the Morrison's dog food. Here it is. Let me click it. Boom, done. Some folks will see that CTA button at the bottom of a post and immediately know it's an ad and immediately fucking reject it and move on. Those folks, that's the organic pieces where we're creating old school Facebook stuff, a dark post. And they see that and it's a long copy with a cute picture, like, oh, let me read this thing. Oh, that's really great. Look at that. There's like a story and I can just click this button. Okay, great. And I'm not, for them, they're not registering that as an ad, even though it's a promoted post. It's a sponsored post. And it's a very different type of buyer. So the number one way of starting an ad set is to have 3 to 5 pieces built around these concepts. When I'm doing it, I almost exclusively launch with 3 because if I get a team to make me 10 pieces of content, I'd love to have 3 concepts of 3 pieces of creative that I can launch from 3 different places so that I can scale faster and I can test faster. If it's only 2 of 5, you have to get lucky. By the way, this is one of the reasons that the bucket-based CBO is massively more effective than the Facebook's version of their best practice for CBO, because Facebook's best practice for CBO tests 3 concepts. Bucket-based CBO can test dozens. And that's the unfair advantage that we have in the marketplace, and that's why we're winning. At this point, neither sell is actually the winner, but theirs is losing with way more limitations. Ours is what we're learning from the loss is how much more powerful our version is. So hopefully that's helpful. Oh, this is a great one. Jackie asked, duping ad sets 10 times. So this is something that's been around forever. So let me tell you about why it started. Back in the day, Facebook didn't have what's called an optimized CPM. Facebook was buying on clicks and impressions. And so what you wanted to do is if you had a good audience where you were getting a oh man, I remember back when I was running CBS, it was measured on engagement rate, right? So it was a low CPM, high engagement rate. If you were getting good numbers, you knew that as soon as you pushed up your budget is a factor in the algorithm that determines the bid. Facebook's released this algorithm. You can find it on Blueprint. It's really easy. It's basically budget, your actual effective in-platform bid is your bid level plus your budget and your estimated action rate and a couple other things. But it's basically like those three elements because your budget means that you're willing to pay more for it. And so people saw that, and so their immediate reaction was, okay, well, if I'm gonna have to spend $100, that's gonna give me a higher bid than if I spend 10. Well, I'm gonna spend 10 times, right? And you see this very often. So that's where it came from. And that's before the estimated action score was really being optimized. As a result, it became this best practice that got passed around a lot, that you want to dupe all these things out. Now, fundamentally, the logic is sound. Like, it makes sense. You're going to get a better bid if you have a lower budget. So why not just get low budgets and run it 100 times? Why not game the system? And the reason you don't want to do that is because of that estimated action rate and because of the optimized CPM. Facebook will take into account how likely people are to engage and want to buy whatever you're optimizing towards, how likely people are to take that action. The more likely they are to take that action, the lower your effective bid becomes in the ecosystem and the less you're charged, because most of us are charged on what's called an optimized CPM. So you're charged based on, if you're optimizing towards a conversion. So now why does that not work in today's ecosystem? Why is it absolute bullshit? Is because it relies on you getting lucky over and over and over again. The reason that this worked was back in the day, Facebook's cost of the inventory, the CPMs, were a quarter of what they are now. And you could effectively use Facebook to go fishing for customers. The reason that doesn't work is because the cost of doing business on Facebook is a lot higher these days. Because it's a lot higher, it's not nearly as effective to go out fishing for customers. Which means if you're trying to sell a $50 product, it's extraordinarily unlikely that if you're spending $10 in an ad set, that you're going to get any sales. If you get a sale from any ad set, you probably got lucky. And if you want to begin to scale that ad set, you're saying, well, I got lucky once, and I got lucky a couple days later. This is the one that's luckiest out of the rest of them. Let me try to push the volume of that one up. And 99% of the time, that's going to lead to you not winning. Which is why everybody's complaining about, well, I can't scale on Facebook. I can't scale on Facebook because they're starting with this thing. Now, mind you, this is also built around using this, almost always it happens at the prospecting level, which means you have an untested creative that has no learnings behind the ad unit that you're asking to get lucky over and over again and then trying to scale getting lucky. That is a horrible way of running a business. What we suggest to do here, and what I do all the time, and the best practice as it's defined, is to take your best performing creative from creative tests and you're running them inside of your retargeting. So that Facebook learns who the people are that are most likely to buy and the people who are that are least likely to buy. It knows who are good customers because you're targeting your ad to carts and your view content and all of that stuff. Because you're targeting them, that ad learns more. And then when you try to scale instead of prospecting, you're saying, hey, you've made 100 sales in the last week in retargeting. You know who a good customer is. Go out and find it inside of this audience. Facebook is going to win doing that all the time. That's the way you're supposed to do it. Now, why does it work in one lookalike instead of 10 lookalikes that are all the same budget? Is because when you centralize your spend, when you spend more money in fewer places, it gets data faster. It makes mistakes and gets wins quicker, which means it hits stability sooner, which means you're not asking it to get lucky. You're placing very informed bets in an ecosystem, and most of the time you're going to be right. Most of the time it's going to work. It won't work all the time, but the times that it does work, you might be able to go from $100 a day to scale it to $1,000 a day because you're going to find out the right ratio of creative to budget size in that target audience. Every single ad that you have, every concept of ads that you have, based on your budget, if you look at the three pieces, right? The budget, the bid, and the estimated action rate, every single piece of creative that you have effectively has a max budget before your cost becomes too high. So how do we know that? Your bid is just what you're putting in. I put almost always auto bid, or I guess it's called lowest cost now. I'm old school. Give me a break. I do a lot of that. I do some manual bidding, but it's just too much more work than it's worth for me. But I do it. Absolutely. So the estimated action rate is essentially a quality score of your creative, saying this piece of creative trying to sell this specific product to this specific audience, roughly 1 out of 20 people will buy. That is going to have a much better estimated action rate than roughly 1 out of 100 people will buy. So based on Facebook's data of knowing how effective that ad is versus the audience that you're pushing it towards, will keep your costs low. And then that's all multiplied basically by your budget, which was why when you raise your budget, your costs go up, because one of the factors in your algebra, it's A times B times C. If A is your budget at $10 versus 100 versus 1,000, you're going to ramp up that effective bid. However, when you have a really good piece of creative that's matched really well to an audience, which is the core thinking around bucket-based CBO, is building buckets, targeting buckets around a creative concept, which is why it's fucking killing it. You're able to spend a lot because your estimated action rate is so high. And because you're letting the bid basically work inside the ecosystem, if you have a better ad targeting that audience than somebody else, you can spend a lot on your budget. And a lot of times, the more money you spend, the more data Facebook gets. I've actually seen bids effectively go down when you're raising your budgets because you're able to get wins and losses at a faster rate. When I've seen it where, like, maybe I'll be spending, in my system where I'm spending $1 million a month, but when I'm spending $300 on an ad set, and then I raise it to like $700, it gets cheaper. I raise it to $1,000, and it gets cheaper. And it's because it's able to find more losses. It's able to fail more often. And because it can fail more often, it knows who the right and the wrong people are. And because it knows who the right and the wrong people are, it can deliver the ad better, so your estimated action rate goes way the fuck up. Also, because you're driving more traffic to your site, and because you're using that creative inside of your retargeting is getting more efficient because it's now starting to learn using that same ad to cart abandoners and everybody else. It's learning, so the estimated action rate is going up as your budget is going up, and you're successfully scaling. That's how you successfully scale. That's the scientific methodology behind successfully scaling, and why duping an ad set at any point in time is a fucking waste of money. It's a terrible piece of advice, and it's definitely going in my ebook, because fuck those people. It was best advice 3 years ago. Soon as the conversion objective came out, that became obsolete, and I see it every fucking day. And the same people that are trying to duplicate ad sets are the same people that are saying they can't scale on Facebook. And it's because the two are so linked. And that one was a long one, but fuck those people. All right. Not the people duplicating the ad sets, you're just trying the best. People are teaching you. John Hagen says, we discussed the one-day click attribution model this week. Can you explain how to use it in practice? Okay. So one-day click is something that we did go off on 2 weeks ago. And I think I've covered it a bit more with John directly. So Facebook can measure in several different versions. The default is 28-day view, one-day click. Or 28-day click, one-day view. And what that's saying is, within a month of somebody clicking on an ad, that you're going to let that ad take credit for a sale that happens. Every single guru or ad agency, anybody reporting to you metrics on how good they are, if they're worth their salt, they're going to give you that number in a 28-day view, one-day click, or 28-day click, one-day view number, because it's the most bullshit way of presenting the data. It is the way that makes them look as good as possible that actually doesn't mean fuck all to you. Why doesn't it mean fuck all? Well, I went on this huge thing, so I'm not going to do too much, but the reason 28-day click is of no value to you is threefold. Number one, it takes into account absolutely nothing that happens anywhere else. Say, and I've seen this before, I've seen this taught by Common Thread Collective, and they're full of shit, is that they did a link click campaign to a giveaway before like Black Friday, and they quoted a 28x ROAS on a link click campaign. Now, how do we know that's bullshit? Because a link click campaign ain't gonna report ROAS, number one. Number two, what they were doing is they were driving traffic to a site so that email and chat bots and other ads could close the deal. Other ads being Google ads and Pinterest and Snapchat and other things. So what they were doing was they were saying within 28 days of somebody clicking on our ad on Facebook, somebody else did all the work. And so we're going to give Facebook the credit so that we can teach you how to give us our fucking money. That is a bullshit way of reporting data. And it's completely disingenuous. They know they're lying to you. They know why it's bullshit. And every single person that's giving you amazing results, the number one thing to do is ask them, what was your one-day post-click number? If they can't give it to you off the top of their head, then they're fucking lying to you. Bottom line, that's how you sniff out bullshitters right away. That is a fucking red flag. Bullshitter, 100%. If they don't know their one-day click number, they're lying to you. Second reason that one-day click doesn't work is because it doesn't. The one-day click is the way to work. Gotta get carried away. The second reason that one-day click is effective, and the 28-day one-day view is bullshit, is the actionability. Right? What am I going to do with this information? All a report really is when somebody gives you a report and says, this is how the campaign did. By the time you get the report, you don't give a shit, especially if you're running a business. You spend so if we say, okay, let me give you a report for last month's data. We spent $50,000 and you got $1 million. Okay, great. I already made the $1 million. I already spent the 50 grand. We're a week into this month. I don't care. That is something from before. I already know that because I've looked at my Shopify or my WooCommerce or my Facebook ad account or whatever it is. My bank statement has already told me the number that you're giving me. Everything else is just a sales pitch to say why you should let me spend your money again. It is 100% bullshit. When you're reporting on a one-day click, I can say, hey, yesterday I did this. 3 days ago, I did this. A week ago, we did this. We made changes, and this is the trend that we're seeing day over day to get you closer to goal. Awesome. As the business owner, I said, okay, well, here's what I want to do in the next 3 to 5 days. I want you to, pull this down, and I want you to push this up. Now you're making day-to-day business decisions that are going to affect your bottom line, and you can do it in real time. If I have to wait till the end of fucking August to decide how effective something was today, what am I going to do for the rest of the month of August? Sit around with my thumb on my ass taking your money and fucking praising myself at the end of the month because of all the hard work that you did and that I'm taking credit for. It's bullshit. Lastly, and more tied to that, is actionability. When you are using something like a Scrum Doc and you're able to see the one-day click across everything, because that is the single most universal measurement of data, and only a few platforms won't report it. But every platform should be able to report that, and that's what Google Analytics is in, or you can set your GA to it. And what you can say is, going back to our first example of, well, the link click campaign gave 28x. It's bullshit. They know it's bullshit. I called them out last time I saw them at one of their fucking sales pitch things in Shopify, and it was fucking great. And their response was, well, I'm glad that's working for you. Like, fuck you. You knew I sniffed your ass out, and I'm coming for you next time I see you. Which is why I don't speak at a lot of conferences. Because I undermine people. Because I'm not an asshole. Anyway. By the way, if anybody knows some conferences, I really would like to do that. I think it'd be really helpful. Anyway, moving past it. For that campaign, the real rock star of that campaign was the landing page designer, was the email advertising person, was maybe the Google person, was the person that lined up the influencer relationship. If, for instance, you run a 28-day campaign, and on day 10, you change your email person, or your email person optimizes something. And so the first 10 days, you're like, whatever. And then day 11 to 25 is fucking killer. And then you go back and say, hey, our Facebook guy did a great job. If I was your email person, I'd fucking quit. Because the Facebook guy did fucking nothing. That's like saying the success of a restaurant has nothing to do with the wait staff or the chef or the line cooks or the cleaning person. It has to do with the guy that made a billboard that's out on the fucking highway. That's bullshit. If you're good, you're good. And people will know it. The guy making the billboard on the highway is responsible for something, but the guy making the billboard on the highway has fuck all to do with me saying, oh my God, this salmon teriyaki was fucking amazing. I'm gonna tell 5 of my friends we're coming back tomorrow. Fuck that guy. He's important, but you don't go praising that motherfucker because of the work everybody else did. That's completely disingenuous and it's bullshit. So we're talking about actionable insight. That's what you want from your reporting, is every day, what are you gonna do? Because of the data. What we could see is immediately when that happened in that same thing is, okay, well, the Facebook guy's getting clicks for $1. Wonderful. And they're landing on the page. All right, well, our web dev guy, I'm out of that page out. Now we're seeing that 1 out of 10 people instead of 1 out of 30 are clicking on it. Great. Praise the web dev guy. He did a good job. And then the email person changed. Well, we got rid of Tom. We brought on Maria. Maria's killing it in day 11. Oh my God, day 11, our conversion rate went up from 2% to 5%. We're converting everybody on emails. Everybody wants to be a part of this thing. Holy shit, Maria's fucking rock star. Give her more work. Meanwhile, the guy that hit go on the Facebook ad that's got a lifetime budget and a target audience is getting praised for everybody else's work. That's what these folks are pitching. When somebody gives you a 28-day, a 28 in 1 day reporting metric, that's what they're doing. They're saying that the very first person is responsible for everything everybody else does. And everybody in this room knows that's bullshit. 100% bullshit. You measure down to a 1-day click, you pull your reporting every day, and you compare results across platform. And you're going to be able to see where is my shortcomings and where are my opportunities and where are my strengths. I can say, hey, great, Tapjoy's bringing me in clicks all fucking day, and look at what's happening as a result. My retargeting pools, I'm able to spend more. When I go from $500 to $1,000 on Tapjoy, my retargeting also goes up by roughly 50%. And also, for some reason, because my retargeting day over day is going up, my ROAS is actually improving. because I'm getting a larger audience, so I'm getting it more efficiently. I'm getting more people in the add to cart one day, so I can spend more money against the highest qualified audience. Or I installed a comment to opt in on all my Facebook ads. They're all coming inside of a chatbot, and what's happening? Oh, all my retargeting ads are taking a shit. Well, why are they taking a shit? Because everybody that commented that would normally be in my ad engaged or retargeting audience is now getting closed on chatbot. So somebody's actually doing a really good job that cost me $50 a month instead of $20 a sale. So hopefully if that system continues to work, I can see that my chatbot person is destroying my Facebook ads, and it's really fucking good for business. And I know that every single day because I can see the results every single day of all the things that happen based off the money that I put out and the money that comes in every single day. There's no room for anybody to bullshit their number. By the way, that's something that's a very real world example, and you should attach comment to opt in on all of your advertisement, and then thank somebody for their interest in your product and offer them a fucking retargeting deal right there. Boom. And then hopefully your Facebook ads do worse because everybody's converting, and the only people you're targeting Facebook ads to, all your retargeting ads are going to people that aren't interested in the chatbot, so they have to work harder, but it's incremental sales over the chatbot sales. Immediate efficiency overnight. Which also is something that very few guru types are going to tell you because there's no way for them to make money on it because it takes 15 minutes. It saves a shit ton of money. And it's just a really good practice for making a buck ton more with every dollar that you spend. Yeah, so hopefully that's helpful. Let's see, we got some more questions. Abdullah asks about seasoning the pixel. Some people say, well, I've got a pixel, let me season it. And what they mean by that is, so first off, Facebook has a pixel, right? And that pixel collects data and understands and knows your customer. And so a lot of people say, well, I've got a fresh pixel and I want to season it with a bunch of traffic so that my Facebook ads work better. Going back to this equation that we talked about earlier, your budget, your bid, and your estimated action rate, nowhere in there does seasoning the pixel help you. It actually hurts you. If Facebook looks at saying, well, all of your ads, all of your conversion ads are being run on an engagement objective. Wow, they're really not converting anybody. Our estimated action rate on this ad to make a conversion is fucked. It's 0. No one's going to buy. And then you run that ad with a lot of engagements as a conversion objective ad. Now, it might do better because people look at the comments and their social proof, yada, yada, yada. But the estimated action rate on that ad is 0. Which means you're going to pay a fuck ton when it comes to your bids. You're effectively destroying the value of your store right away. And then the arguments that come back to that are, oh, well, really what we're doing here is, letting the pixels see more data from who's with us. And it's like, great. And is that data conversion data? Are you trying to sell something? If you're trying to sell something, then seasoning the pixel, are you asking Facebook to learn based off of actions you want it to take? And the answer is no, then you're wasting your money. The correct way to season your pixel is to get the highest converting ads to the highest converting audiences you can and then scaling up, which is why everybody that I talk to when on one-on-ones and we're trying to build businesses, and everybody in the Slack and everyone in here from everybody can vouch for it, is my number one thing is what's your effect on retargeting. Facebook's going to start learning based off of all of your ads. If you're running only prospecting, then you are going to lose because you're not retargeting people, because you're running the least effective ads because you're trying to get lucky. If you're using Facebook to do retargeting, that ad is going to learn based on the action rate. Okay, people like this ad, people don't like this ad. It's an add to cart. One day you're getting conversions every fucking day. And you're getting more volume to that store because you're running from other channels, and then there's ramping up, and then you're able to use your profits from the retargeting to start to expand out your retargeting to then eventually start doing prospecting, and you're building from the bottom up. And what that's doing is it's showing the Facebook pixel, these are buyers, these are not buyers. They're already a room of really hot leads. Know who the converters are, know who the converters aren't. That's how you season a pixel. Running all this other shit to it is just a fucking waste of money. And I see it so fucking much. And it's a fucking shame. I see people spend hundreds or thousands of dollars on effectively on credit cards trying to start a store, and they say Facebook doesn't work. And when I talk to them, they don't even have retargeting set up. And they just got taken advantage of. And I hate it. But yeah. So, man, Andrew's got some good questions here. It's a very long one, but I'm going to try to summarize. Andrew's saying, Andrew says, hey, drop a value bomb that's just insanely broad for being a great tactic and don't respond. You're pretty damn active, and I love learning from the tips you drop, man. Blah, blah, blah. Thank you, Andrew. He says, one of the things that's really annoying is when gurus say it's all about testing your audience. You should create 1% lookalikes. By the way, people use LLA for lookalike. The shorthand inside of Facebook's documentation is LAL. Almost all the time I can tell if somebody's coming from a guru or coming from Facebook based on the way that they shorthand lookalike. It's funny. Generally, people that teach you with LLA as the shorthand have learned from a guru or from an agency. If somebody uses the term LAL, then they're learning from Facebook. This is shorthand. Anyway, and it says make lookalike audience from 1 day, 3 days, 7, 180, and then test 2, 3, 4, 5%. Who has the time to build all these lookalike audiences and properly execute ads against all of them? Very good question, and it's a very common thing that I see. Oh, what lookalike audience is best for me? It's one lookalike audience that's best for you. It's a lookalike of your it's a lookalike of your buyers from the last 6 months. That's your best audience. Everything else is trying to get lucky by gaming the system. Now, why is that? Lookalike audiences use all of your data to build the best quality group of people that look like your buyers. So you want to say, well, what is the action that I'm trying to make a lookalike off of? If your lookalike that you're trying to build an action off of is previous buyers, then you want to go after previous buyers for as long as you can, 6 months, 180 days. Okay, well, why 1% lookalike off of 1% is the 2 million or so in the United States, people that are closest to that original data set. Knowing the type of people that buy from you, Facebook will say, well, over the last 6 months, these are everybody that bought from you. We're going to find the 2 million people that look the most like everyone that's bought from you. That's going to be your best audience. Bar none, no audience will perform better than that. When we do creative testing, you'll hear me say other things. I test all my creative against a combination of a stacked audience of lookalike 1% of all buyers the last 6 months. I also do a value-based lookalike for my pixel because I'm testing products at multiple price points. Value-based is going to try to find the people that are likely to spend the most money. And then I also say, look at the people, either repeat buyers or the people that have bought the specific product that I'm testing. So if I'm testing a $20 product, I want everybody that bought from my store. I want everybody that's likely to spend the most amount of money. And I want everyone that's likely to buy this one product. Those are basically 3 circles. And Facebook will focus on like a Venn diagram, the shady area where all the circles meet. That's going to, basically what I'm doing is I'm effectively screening out that one best quality audience by the other ones. So only the places where all 3 cross section is the number 1 audience for me. That will be the audience that is going to be most stable, That's the audience that provides me the most amount of scalability. And if I can't win at that audience, I'm not going to win anywhere else. What you want to do is find creative that works at that audience at a 1% lookalike. And then the next step in the bucket-based CBO campaigns that we're testing, which are the best practice, beating out Facebook's best practice and everybody else running CBO, is you then take it and you run it to a 2% version of that lookalike and abroad. If you can win there, then you can spend a fuck ton of money. Now, I regularly will take an ad where my testing budget's $100 a day against that 1%, and it works. Maybe 1 out of 5, 1 out of 10 ideas that work. And then I go to 2% and broad, and if it works there, I will often be able to easily get from 100 a day to a couple thousand a day while maintaining my objective, which in that position might be getting a 1-to-1 on a 1-day post click. And that's fine by me. And that should be fine by everybody. When you're trying to do 1% lookalikes of video viewers or engagers or add to carts, what you're doing, you're saying, hey, I really want to sell stuff. Find me people that look like those that have shown interest in my product but aren't buying. So it's like, I have a store in the mall. I've got a great window display. There are people that stop and look at my window display. I want you to find another 1 million people that look like those. And what I'm telling you, so that's the guru's pitch. My pitch is, I got a store in the mall. Here's every customer I've had for the last 6 months. Find me more people like them. Who do you think is going to win? The 2 million people that look like the other motherfuckers that pulled out the credit card and bought from you? Or the 2 million people that think you've got shiny colors in your window? Again, this is something where something very simple has been made overly complex because back in the day, you used to do that. Because you wanted to ramp up spending and because you wanted to do testing and because people were finding little pockets where it worked. But it never scales. What happened is, whenever you launch a new audience, Facebook knows, okay, well, out of this audience, I can get, a couple sales. So you're basically just chasing that low-hanging fruit all over the place. And generally, by the time that you realize that you've gotten all your low-hanging fruit, say you make 10 sales day one and 20 sales by the end of the week. By the second week, you lost money every day. You lost all the money that you made on week one, chasing it week two. It's a gamble. Vegas will always win on that gamble. Don't play that game. If you can't make money and expand in your best audience and then expand it to the next versions, then it's worthless. If you can't run an ad to broad and to a 1% lookalike, then there's no fucking reason of running that ad, because those are the ads. Remember, on your budget and your bid and your estimated action rate, that's your auction. Your estimated action rate is also affected by how large that audience is. If that audience is 1,000 people, your estimated action rate better be fucking high, because you're gonna run out of people really fucking fast. And if you get maybe 1 out of 10 people is likely to buy, and so your 1,000 people is really 100 buyers, and you make 40 sales. Well, the estimated action rate is now 960 people with only 60 people left to buy. So now it's like 1 out of like 40. I mean, it gets really disgusting really fucking fast. If your audience is 200 million people, you can probably spend $5,000 a day for the next 10 years. And your estimated action rate won't go down. That's where you need to be running. If you can't win there, don't try anything else, because you need audiences that you can scale into, or you'll never scale successfully. So yeah, and anybody that tells you different, comment my name and I'll eviscerate them. Public service. I enjoy doing it. Let's see. I believe there's best practice to follow almost exactly as you said, many of your joys like a standard guide. People I chat with, there's a common theme. Not everybody does the same thing. Guru, shovel nonsense, get rich quick thinking, magical pill, pop, pop, pop. Yeah. Test against your 1%. If that works, go to 2% and broad. If that works, continue to scale. If it doesn't work, try a new idea. That is, if you want to break it down to the very core, simplest fucking way of running it. That's it. And you'll have a scalable ad set and a concept in a campaign where you can go from 100 a day to 1,000 a day in like a week. Or 2 or a month, whatever your pacing is, and your threshold for risk. But none of that will work if you don't have retargeting in place. So there you go. Great. We might be down to our last couple questions here. The comment section is out. Let's see. Bilal asked, hi Bilal. Hi Charlie, I am a bit late, but I had a question. I'm currently trying to test dynamic creatives in my CBOs. I read a strategy to use the following creatives in my testing. 2 videos, carousel, and single image. However, when I create the dynamic, it only lets me upload one type of content. For example, 10 videos only or 10 photos only. How do I combine different creatives? How do you go about doing this? Well, that's a great question. And what you've done is you've been steered a little sideways. And what Bilal's referencing here is that mixed media thing that we were talking about earlier. So Bilal's learning from somebody that's good, which I like. I like that. And yeah, absolutely. And they're telling you to do they're telling you to do 4 pieces. Remember I said 3 to 5? 4 is perfectly reasonable. Absolutely. And they're saying instead of an organic, they're throwing in a carousel. Great piece of advice. Carousels look wonderful. So Bilal, right off the bat, you're learning from somebody that's good. The problem is that the dynamic creative type test that you want to achieve isn't effective across multiple mixed media. I would say don't worry about doing dynamic creative. Build them out manually. Theme the creatives. So you've got 10 videos and 10 different concepts, right? Or let's keep it simple. You've got 3 videos, 3 photos, and 2 sets of copy. You want to load all those up into one and let Facebook do all the math. It won't do that, which is just kind of annoying. For you, I would pick copy number 1 and run it to video number 1 and photo number 1 and then carousel number 1. That's concept 1. And then copy number 2 to the same pieces, right? And then do copy number 1 against the second photo and the second video. What you have is basically 6 with that combination. If you pair them by 1 photo and 1 video and 1 carousel per each piece of copy, and you've got 3 of each, you basically have like 6 concepts that you can test. So I would group them together with the variable being the copy, and making sure that the video and the picture are themed, and run those against your testing audiences. You're undermining what dynamic creative will do, but you're going to be able to run that mixed media thing that you're being taught. And for what it's worth, this is what I do. I actually don't use dynamic creative that much. Not that there's anything wrong with it. I just find that while it is great for research, my ability to scale it and to learn from it is limited. I think it's really, really great if you can't afford to do test and learn. If you want to test and learn, which sounds like is what you're trying to do, then I would do that. And I would do it with build out your 6 concepts, run all of them with an ad set minimum and maximum, where your maximum is 50% more than your minimum and your CBO total budget is 20% more than the sum of your minimums of your active ad sets. So say it's $50 an ad set. So $50 minimum, $75 maximum, 50% more. And then your total campaign budget will be 20% more than 6 times 50, which is 300. 20% more than that is 360. Now you've got a CBO bucket-based targeting campaign for creative testing at $360 a day. Run that against a target audience of lookalike 1% of all previous buyers, value-based based off of your pixel, and off of a lookalike of the buyers of the specific product or offer or app or whatever it is that you're selling. and then let those run. And they're probably going to do really well for the first couple days. Wait for day 5, day 7. Something that we've used to talk about a bunch, but we haven't gotten back to a lot lately, is it usually takes about a week or so. Wait for the ad sets to leave the learning phase, and then turn off the ad sets that didn't win, and reallocate those budgets to the ad sets that did win or to new ideas. And effectively what you're doing is you're scaling winning ad sets by saying, well, this $50 didn't work, but this $50 did. I'm going to ship that 50 over to here. So now instead of 50 and 75, it's 100 and $1.50. But your total budget doesn't change. You're just effectively scaling what the wins are. So you're effectively optimizing your campaign performance so that you are making more money with each dollar that you spend. And if you do have a winning idea, duplicate that ad set and change the targeting out from a 1% to a 2%, and duplicate it one more time and remove all the targeting entirely. And if that wins, you can go from $300 to $1,000 really fucking quick. And then do it over again and over again and over again. And what you'll have is a really solid bucket-based CBO creative testing winner that you've scaled the fuck out of. And when you get to the point where it works at 1% or 2% in abroad, introduce that concept into your retargeting, and you'll notice that overnight your prospecting ad sets will improve, because they're seeing the estimated action rates improve on that ad, because that ad's now being shown inside of the add to cart 1 days just as much as it is on lookalikes. Your entire account will be more efficient. There you go. All right, well, I think that's it. Well, it says, yep, I'm following your spend limits across all my CBOs. Almost all my ads have resulted in purchases with the strategy. Thanks a lot for the value. Bilal, that's fantastic. I'm going to end it on that. Fuck the gurus. Use this advice. It's working for Bilal. Thanks, man. And homework for the week, take any piece of advice that we have and copy and paste it into somebody selling a coursework. Screenshot it, send it to me, get 50% off, one-on-one, the Slack, the fucking Patreon, or any ebook you want for free. And I'm currently working on the worst practices taught by gurus. And you know what? I think I might try to dedicate the rest of this month to just this thing. So send me everything, anything that you learned from anybody. Let me poke holes in it or applaud you for finding a really good idea. All right? See you next week. Love you guys. Bye.